My wife decided to help the man she cheated on me with to move across the country so that she can obtain closure. She asked me to remain at home because she will be returning to us. What are some of the most unbelievable relationship requests you have made or had asked of you? Reddit. When I was 16 and in a relationship, my girlfriend cheated on me, got pregnant but cried and said she was sorry and that she wanted us to raise a kid together. I broke up with her faster than the wind. Good call. A girl once asked me, so could I just go have sex with other guys and maybe you not have sex with other girls? Kinda what we have now, but I get to frick other dudes. Why would I even agree to that if I don't get to frick other chicks, was my answer. My ex asked me to take her to her ex-boyfriend's house at 2 AM because he called her and just had a bad dream about her dying. I asked her why she had to go. She said, "He wants me to spend the night so he can make sure I don't die." I'm dumb, but even I know what that means. He apparently needed to check her temperature with his thermometer throughout the night to ensure that she hadn't gone cold. My wife of 90 days wanted us to remain married after I caught her cheating on me and divorce quietly. She wanted us to live in the same house and for all appearances, be married until the divorce was finalized. She also expected me to be there for all her emotional baggage because she considered me her best friend. Nope. Yep, that's probably not a great idea. I used to think that the word audacity actually meant something, but I am feeling more and more that it is a less powerful word than I thought. An ex cheated on me for 3 weeks while I was away on business. When I found out, I was livid, and I ended things. Unfortunately, we lived together. She had never paid any of the bills, and asked me to continue paying for everything while I was moved to her futon and they fricked in our bedroom. She then asked me not to tell him I was her boyfriend, because she had told him I was her roommate and she didn't want him to think of her as a cheater. I told her to have her crap out in 3 days, and that I hoped her new fricked buddy liked housing a crazy money grubbing slob. Oh, and I complied with her wishes not to tell him she was a cheater until she had all her crap moved out and the locks were changed. Then I called and gave him the good news. She showed up 3 months later with suitcases. I laughed at her, slammed the door in her face, and never talked to her again. Very, very good. The guy that cheated on me got another girl pregnant and asked me to still be with him to help raise the child. He said it's common. Well, it's common to dump the guy that fricked you over, so I kicked him to the curb. Awesome. I had a boyfriend who didn't want his ex-GF to know he was dating someone else. Being young and stupid, I didn't care very much. Cheating or some such didn't occur to me. Turns out, he didn't want his immediate family to know either. I was less okay with that, but I don't always tell my family every little detail of my life. I didn't know how his family situation stood, and he said he didn't want it to get back to her via them, so I still didn't object. But when he asked me not to openly display affection around our mutual friends, who never met the ex, I broke up with him. It's been a couple years, and he keeps trying to get me back, under the same conditions, but I am wiser now. Excellent. Unless you're into it, being a second option isn't a good idea. I went to work only to come home to find during the day my crazy ex had changed all the locks and would not let me in to get my stuff after an argument. So I went to the rental agency and got myself off the lease and onto another one and moved into another apartment. She emails me, "You could at least pay a few months rent to help me out." Ha 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 ha. My bro-in-law had his previous wife pull this. He worked full time and bought the house. She was unemployed. She changed the locks. He kicks the door in, changes out of work clothes and crashes on the couch. She calls the popo and he has charges that took years and many letters to his congressman to get off his record. My long-term ex-GF and I were going through a rough patch where we both cheated but were trying to work things out. The guy she had slept with was a close friend of hers and she told me she loved him too but wasn't sure which of us she honestly wanted to be with. Then she told me if you proposed to me that would help me figure it out. I quickly said nope, sorry, and that was the end of it. Not as serious as your situation, but I have something similar. I started seeing a girl last summer when she was a couple months out of a serious relationship. We were friends before this. Her ex and I are what you could call acquaintances. One thing leads to another, and this girl and I become more serious. I know she still talks to her ex occasionally, but I'm a very trusting individual, and she swears she's done with him. Fast forward a few months to when she tells me about a dinner the two of them had the night before, where he asked her to stop seeing me, because it was so embarrassing for him. I am an undergrad. She is graduated. He's pursuing some crazy doctorate degree, and we have many mutual friends. Banging comes to a screeching halt. She wants some space to figure out why she's complying with her ex's requests. They start seeing each other again, and through mutual friends, I hear that he doesn't want her to communicate with me whatsoever. I even had one of her credit cards she left in my dorm. Instead of picking it up, she had to cancel it. Fast forward 6 months. Out of nowhere she starts texting me, a lot, from both of her phone numbers. Hear from a mutual friend that she just broke up with this guy again. She wants to hang out and catch up because she has no idea what I've been doing for the last few months. So freaking transparent. This is making me angry just thinking about. The worst is my friends. Cool. You guys can bang and make up, and we won't have to choose who to hang out with or invite to parties. My response? Sorry guys. I'm a lot more vested in this than you guys are. Please stop telling her which bars we are at so she will stop showing up and trying to squeeze back into my life. Since you are still young and in the process of growing yourself, I would find a way to increase the distance between the two of you and allow her to figure out her own problems while you revel in the freedom that you have been afforded. Going out with a girl, all is fine. After a while she breaks up with me and dates my friend for a week or something. Breaks up with him and crawls back to me, begging and crying that I take her back. I take her back because I'm stupid. After 2 days I find out that she was followed home by 2 guys after she went swimming with her friends. Cheats on me with one of the guys. I don't even. Thankfully you have no legal ties to this person and can skip away like you're in the hills of Austria. Right after I found out my ex cheated, more than once, and confronted him, he begged me not to leave. He said he would try so hard not to do it again, but couldn't promise to actually stop. The situation was so absurd I had to laugh. I told him to get the heck out and haven't seen him since. Edit. To add to the gravity of this, I should explain that we were living together and had been together for 5 years. Good call, especially considering the not being able to promise anything part. Dated a guy exclusively for 2 years. Got pregnant. He immediately decides I must have cheated on him and tells everyone who will listen that it's not his and that he's sterile so he knows for sure. Since we work together, this makes going to work a living nightmare. He refuses to attend the birth and refuses to sign the birth certificate. A month after the baby is born he gets evicted for the millionth time, and since nobody in town will rent to him anymore, he shows up at my door with his 4 cats and wants to move in with me, rent free, on account of how he quit his job as soon as the Family Responsibility Office found out where he was working and started garnishing his wages for the child support he refuses to pay for the 2 kids he refuses to see from his previous relationship. When I told him I wasn't about to risk losing my apartment, I had once asked the property management company I rented from if they had any vacancies, and when they found out his name they made it clear that not only would they not rent to him, they'd evict anyone who allowed him to stay in any of their properties. He called me a selfish bee and said that I only cared about myself and my baby. Well, duh. 10 months later his new girlfriend had a baby. So much for that sterility. Man, some people spread seed like icing at a cake factory. I try not to hold grudges, but sometimes people can be crazy as frick. I had started dating a girl, probably 3 weeks give or take. After a romantic dinner and the like, we decided to seal the deal, and the next morning I left for work. I came home to my apartment and she was moving in with her crap. She told me she was pregnant with her boss's child. She knew before we started dating that she was, and she knew I'd do the right thing for her and our child. On a side note, her boss was married with kids, pose kind of guy. I smiled, walked downstairs, and just called the cops to get her out of there. I'm pretty convinced me telling her heck no would have led to some kind of domestic violence charge my way. I have no idea what happened to her after that, but just goddang, I'm older and wiser now, and the don't stick your dong in crazy message has been well received. I'm off to bed. Thank you, Reddit. for the wonderful day of commentary. I'll do my best to pick up on what I missed tomorrow. Though some people have wondered if this thread was intended to be a mopey and sad forum for all of us to vent awful experiences. I was truly hoping we could all look at both the wonderful and difficult things around us, smile, have a laugh, and perhaps learn from one another in a positive manner. Have a great night. My ex-father-in-law turned out to be gay, and he wanted to stay married to his female wife and move his male lover into the house and live like a family. She said no. Within minutes of dumping me from a multi-year relationship, with tears in her eyes, my long-term girlfriend begged me to stay friends with her because, and I am quoting, "I can't imagine you not in my life. But, didn't you just tell me, less than a few minutes ago, that you wanted to take your life in a different direction, without me, and I had no say on the matter whatsoever?" I want to give props to OP for replying to just about every comment in this thread and for refraining from being the psycho victim husband. Reason is vastly undervalued these days, and OP seems like a stand-up guy for taking this in stride. I'm sorry that you have to go through this though. I can't even imagine how it would feel to have my future wife say that to me. It sucks, but at least I don't have cancer, yet. I once got in an argument with a girl over what the boundaries are in an open relationship. She insisted there were none, and I insisted that they had to be some, like no banging immediate friends. Anyways, she slept with my friend, so I banged her little sister. I think I proved my point. For our 1-year anniversary, I made my ex a cute little snowflake cutout thing that was redeemable for a local ski trip. Obviously, it was all expenses paid type of deal. I should also mention that he gave me no gift for said anniversary, but I digress. Well, I broke things off before the trip ever took place. He had the gall to call up a month or so later asking if I would still take him on said trip. That was an awkward conversation. I have a friend who booked a tropical vacation for he and his girlfriend prior to their very messy demise. He was somehow convinced to continue forward with the trip. To say that it was awful is an understatement. Every time a relationship ended, whether by me or him, the guy asked for one more frick. I guess that's not unbelievable, but I was amazed at how they went from crying to so one last time out of the question and how it happened every time. I'm going through the end of my marriage right now. She isn't leaving until mid-month. One last time is out of the question for me, although she has hinted at it. She doesn't understand I have an iron will. 14 days until freedom. This didn't happen directly to me, but rather what my father said to my mother. Dad cheated several times throughout their 20-year marriage, and mom had just found out. I was there, because at that time, I was offered the decision to choose who to live with for the last few months before college, when he decided to throw a golden douche curveball. I'm sorry I cheated, but I really don't want a divorce. That's going to cost a lot and I love you. Why don't we just separate, do whatever we want for 3 years, and then get back together when we get everything out of our systems? Mom didn't know what to say and neither did I. Oh, Dad. So have you decided to break up with her? Does she claim that this trip with this guy is just to help him out and nothing is going on? You seem to be avoiding answering questions like a politician. Can you elaborate on the story a bit? I got a call from the crazy I was dating. Once. Ring, ring, ring. Me. Hello? Her. Hey, hun. What are you up to? Me. Not much. Playing games. And throwing back a few beers. Her. Oh. Can you do me a favor? Me. Skeptical face. It depends. Her. Well, I just got pulled over, and my car is being towed. I was coming over to surprise you and to say hello. Me. Okay. Well, why did you get pulled over? Her. Oh, I didn't tell you. Last month I got 2 DUIs and I only have a conditional license. I'm only allowed to drive to work and back, and to the grocery store once a week. Me. Luong pause. No, you definitely didn't tell me that. Her. Oh, yeah, well, I wasn't supposed to be driving. Do you think you can pick me up? The cop said he was going to be nice enough to wait for my ride to come. Me. No, hun, I can't. I'm 5 beers in and I just started drinking. I'll get a DUI myself. Her. What? No you won't. Just get over here and pick me up. I don't want to wait. This is embarrassing. Me. Yes, I will. You just got done telling me how the cop is waiting there with you until someone comes and picks you up. You're in butthole. Why would you drink tonight? You don't do anything for me. And you're like all the other guys in my past. She hangs up. I go back to playing COD. Ex cheated on me, then dumped me. Told me to move out and back in with my parents. And wanted to keep the dog and the Wii. He got a Wii in the house. But no way in heck was I letting him keep the dog. Good job. The dog will be more loyal. My first year in college, there was a girl I was seeing. About halfway through the year, we get in a fight while drinking and she punched me in the face. I was really upset at this point, but just said frick her and left the dorm to cool off. A couple days later I walk into my room after a shower and there's cops in my room. This B filed a police report against me saying I was completely wasted and knocked her unconscious. Luckily my roommate saw the whole thing and had the same story as me, so I didn't get taken to jail. After all this, housing at my university had me relocated to another dorm since she said she didn't feel comfortable with me in the dorm. I was banned from my other dorm, and in addition to that I had to see an anger therapist for the rest of the school year. Now here's where the ridiculous request comes in. The police ordered me to have no contact with her for the rest of the year or else I go to jail. So about a month of being in my new dorm, my phone rings around midnight. I didn't know who it was since I deleted her from my phone, so I answer it. It's her bawling her eyes out saying that she made a huge mistake and she was in love with me and all this crap. All I said was frick off and hung up. Stupid B quite literally ruined my first year of college. I would have told her if she wanted my love, she would need to go to the police and confess all of her lies. Then afterwards I would have told her to frick off. So buried but good. My roommate's brother comes to visit us in Maui. Kinda intense looking dude but really nice. Actually teaches kindergarten. First afternoon he is there, his ATM card doesn't work. He calls his girl and asks her what is going on. He can hear her talking to some dude in the background mocking him and his girl trying not to laugh. Dude is pee and disappears. The next day he shows back up at our place. We asked him, where did you go? Dude hung up with his girl the afternoon in question and catches the red eye back to the mainland. Finds his girl's car at her work, takes anything of any value in their apartment. Then goes to her storage unit, does the same. Packs her car to the point where the trunk doesn't close, drives it into the desert and sets it on fire and flies back. He carried the renter's policy and never filed a claim. Ended up living out there for a year or so. She just abandoned the marital home. Everything she left, including children, is yours. She will have to go to court and talk the judge into giving it back to her. Start divorce proceedings now. Unless you're in the armed forces US, then you're screwed. Thankfully, I do not have to handle this from a war zone like so many of our unfortunate countrymen abroad. My ex-fiance was in the Air Force. We met in high school few years before that. Sweethearts and all that. While he was deployed to Germany for a year and a half, I was working a tough job and helping my sister who couldn't afford childcare. About halfway through this, his letters started to be fewer in between, and he didn't call every day or so like he normally would. When he came back on leave for 2 weeks, there was a day or two that he had to go somewhere. He was always vague about the destination. Through a close friend of ours I found out he was seeing a lawyer to sign divorce papers. He had gotten married to another girl from our school, who flew out to Germany for a couple months. Once I confronted him, he immediately told me everything, then proceeded to ask me if I could help him pay for the lawyer. To have me run onto a busy freeway with him and die together at the ripe old ages of 15. He thought it would be romantic to have our guts in a beautiful spiraled pattern, intertwining. His words. Our families were relatively wealthy at the time, so we had no real problems. A while after this I broke up with him because it was getting weird. He later threw himself in front of a car and died because he's a freaking dumbass. And I'm still alive because I'm not a freaking dumbass. To have me run onto a busy freeway with him and die together at the ripe old ages of 15. He thought it would be romantic to have our guts in a beautiful spiraled pattern, intertwining. His words. A while after this I broke up with him because it was getting weird. Your reaction time has room for serious improvement. My so of 3 years wanted some time to herself to make sure that moving in together was what she really wanted. She decided to go on a trip to Vancouver for a week with my close friend, who she'd been spending a lot of time with. She convinced me that they were just friends and that they just wanted to go there together, but they weren't really going to be spending a lot of time with each other. Anyway, she comes back, breaks up with me, and starts dating him a few weeks later. I think she at least had the decency to not physically cheat on me. That would be nice to think, but we all know that adventures often result in moments of passion. My wife promised that she would no longer be physical with this person while they are gone, but to completely believe that while reflecting on the promises that were previously broken would be ignorant on my part. This is going to be a really sad story that isn't my own. I'm sure the source of the story, a lifelong friend of our family, would be able to elaborate a bit more on this, but unfortunately, he can't because he is no longer alive. So, Fernando met Beatrice sometime before he left on his scholarship to MIT, and, growing up in one of the roughest areas of Phoenix with no money, this was a big deal. He was a freaking genius. Not surprisingly, the stress of having a long-distance relationship, added to the pressures of a school like MIT, added to the constant nagging of Beatrice to get married young. She convinced him to leave school and get a boring job at Best Buy so they could get married at 20 years old, and she could finally have citizenship. All in a year they make up and break up a couple of times. Between each breakup, her hooking up with various dudes, then eventually, no need to break up. She cheats on him so many times he gives up hope. He loses his job, he has no education, and he's basically squandered every last bit of potential for this girl. They break up for a final time, and years pass of her leading him on and making him believe they'll get back together if he gets a better job. All the while, still legally married, because she wants to keep her citizenship. He eventually stops caring, begs her to sign divorce papers. She refuses, calls him over and they have a drunken tryst to keep his mind off it. He tries to come see her again, but her boyfriend is home. Fernando is just defeated at this point. He asks her one last time to sign the papers. She declines. Actually, she asks if it'd be cool for her and her boyfriend to move in with him. Then, at the age of 26, one of the smartest, kindest, funniest people I've ever met, and someone I've known since I was born, killed himself over some heartless bee. My ex called me after he'd been dating a new girl for a few months to ask me if I could teach her to give oral sex like I did. As our breakup had not been amicable, he cheated. I declined less than politely. It was a welcome boost to the ego after how things had ended though. About 11 years ago, my hubby came to me and told me he'd met someone online in a chat room and wanted to go 3,000 miles to meet her and see if it was love. I told him if he left, don't bother coming back. A few months later, he came to me, said he'd met somebody else online and was leaving right then to be with her. He handed me his cell phone, run up to $500 talking to his hussy, and his wedding ring. Packed a suitcase and left. We'd been married 16 years and were renting a big house. This was 10 years ago. Luckily he never bothered me again. Good riddance. I'm coming into this a little late in the game and perhaps this is a bit personal, but here it goes. In short, I dated this complete jerk that I was stupidly in love with. During the relationship, he often complained that we didn't have sex enough and that if the frequency did not pick up he would dump me. I decided to go to the doctor and figure out what was wrong. Turns out I have a condition that makes sex very painful. I kind of knew this given my past experiences but never had it diagnosed. I revealed this information, to which he curtly replied, "Well, you better get used to it or I'm going to fall out of love with you. TLDR, if he looks like a douchebag and acts like a douchebag." If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.